Okay, so the last box came in for the airplane. I got my batteries in, and so I made a little tray here. It's just a simple tray, used Velcro, package it all together. And this is the weight that we're going to use to set the CG in the appropriate level. If it's too nose heavy, when it comes in for a landing, you'll have to come in really fast because otherwise it'll constantly want to pull down. And too tail heavy makes a really sensitive plane. It could be really unstable and almost impossible to fly. So you want to make sure that you get that center of gravity in the specified range. On this one, there was that bar that we made earlier where it was 2 to 3 inches forward from the rear cabane. So I have the bar in place up here, and I just have a simple pulley system so I can just pick up the airplane. And we can see it's nose heavy right there. So we want to put the batteries in and see where I can get that to be level when this is set at the right location for the center of gravity. Also, I wanted to have the rudder servo available because this could be additional weight in the rear that could help with a better placement of the batteries. So let me play around with this, and I'll get the batteries installed and the rudder servo installed and come back and show you what I've done. Okay, so as it turns out, I have to put the batteries back in the turtle deck almost near the tail, and I've gone ahead and set the rudder servo on the elevator where the location is for the rudder servo to be installed in the fuselage. And I've got it to CG right in the middle at 2.5 inches. I've got the airplane balancing nice and level. And that's a good starting point. You don't want it too tail heavy, especially the maiden flight. It's always a good starting location, and then you can move the batteries forward and back some to change that center of gravity location. And by putting them back in the turtle deck, I have that room to move it. And I'll show you the tray that I made in there. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of room to move it because they're pretty far in the back. But it should be good, and I'm really looking forward to flying this thing. So I'll check back in after it's installed. Okay, so I've got my wires tucked away in here. Nice little wire loom. Labeled all my servo connections and connected the receiver, and I'll go over that when I get to the setup phase. But I mounted the battery tray back here so that they're hanging down. There's enough room on top and on bottom to work the Velcro straps, and I can still move the batteries back about 2 inches. And if I wanted to move them forward, I could build an extension tray to come forward in the turtle deck. There's enough lead in the power wires that when I connect them, I can move them around a bit. Here's the CG bar that I made, and you can see the 2 to 3 inches in front of the rear cabane CG mark. And when I'm doing this, I have it right in the middle. I figure that's a good starting point. And let me set up the camera and I'll show you what that looks like when it's hanging on the hook. Okay, so I've got it all set up here on the table. Set up my hook right at the 2.5 inch mark like I showed you. And I pull down on the rope here. And there you can see it's nice and level. And I ended up installing the servo in the tail. I'll get the camera and show you here in a second. Alright, here you can see I've installed my rudder servo in the side here. Now, this is not the right geometry. I'll get to this in the setup phase. Right now, I don't have the right ends in here, so I have to swing by the hobby shop tomorrow and get the right ones. Then I'll trim down this carbon fiber rod and JB weld ends in it to make my push rod to go to the rudder. So and that helped out getting the more weight in the tail, so I had some room to play with the batteries for CG. Let me get the wing back on this, and I'll set this up to start going over the flying wires and the tail springs.